school. You led by example, and now you're seeing districts all across the state of California doing similarly, including counties large and small that are also following your example. In fact, now 35 counties have been prioritizing their educators. Of course, the state now has set aside, beginning this week, some 75,000 doses minimum for our educators, 10% of all the new doses that we receive. In addition to that, we're creating educator days on Thursday and Friday in Southern California, and another Cal State LA, exclusively for educators, tomorrow and Friday, and doing the same in Northern California and Alameda County. That's on top of the 10% set aside for educators. This, in addition to the incredible leadership of the President, who yesterday announced even further efforts with direct allocations going from the federal government to pharmacies to also advance the cause of getting these vaccines into educators' arms by the end of this month. Of course, all of that is important, but to do so safely also requires a different kind of leadership, and that is a commitment to address issues not just associated with vaccines, but issues related to PPE, issues related to ventilation, issues related to appropriately having physical and social distancing within our schools. And I just want to thank Assembly members that are here, the Senator, for their incredible support of a bill that hopefully we will sign on Friday, will be passed tomorrow in the California legislature. $6.6 billion being set aside to address the issue of not only reopening our schools safely for in-person instruction, but also addressing the pressing issue of learning loss, reimagining the school year, not having the limitations of an agrarian calendar, looking at possibility of extending curriculum, extending the school day and the school year, potentially into the summer months, interventions as it relates to wellness, mental health, interventions around individualized learning, addressing the issues for our most vulnerable Californians, particularly homeless youth, particularly youth coming out of the foster system, English as second language learners, folks that are not taking advantage or have the advantage of having a device or the tools of technology to connect those devices to the internet, getting those cohorts back into class quickly and safely, including those with intellectual disabilities and physical disabilities. So that package is pressing, that package is formidable, and that package is meaningful as we transition to getting these vaccines into people's arms and get to that herd immunity. And I appreciate Senator framing this in the next 100 days, and that's very realistic. And that's pretty remarkable, isn't it? After this extraordinary year of fear and anxiety and stress, now we're not just seeing light at the end of the tunnel, we're seeing bright light at the end of the tunnel. 9.45 million doses of vaccines have been administered in the state of California. 9.5 million. No other state comes close. In fact, no other nation comes close. There are just 6 others in the world that have administered as many doses of vaccines. Now over 213,000 a day. 1.73 million in the last 7 days. The only constraint is manufactured supply. Let me be specific, and I'll close this quickly. Last week, I noted 1.73 million vaccines being administered. This week, we're only receiving 1.58 million vaccines. This week, we will have received 21,000 doses of the J&J vaccine. Just 21,000. 10,500 have arrived in LA, 10,500 in Alameda County at those FEMA Cal OES sites. Next week, we anticipate 320,000 of a projected 1.64 million doses to be the J&J vaccine. If I haven't lost you, perhaps you're not paying attention. My only point in all these numbers is to make the point that I will make again, and that is the only constraint of us providing more vaccine to more people in a much quicker and expedited manner, and also an equitable manner, is manufactured supply. We have designed a system with Greg's extraordinary leadership, and it's a big deal to have Greg Adams here from Kaiser. This is not a representative from Kaiser. that has been paid to show up. This is the head of the entire Kaiser system, the largest system on planet Earth, that has personally committed himself, not just his organization, to the issue of equity. It was mentioned by the Assemblyman that we have Compton represented here. That's a big deal. We're getting educators vaccinated with an eye on making sure that we are advancing the cause of equity, not just as a platitude, not just as a program, not just as a promise, but something we truly can deliver on. 25,000 doses were set aside just for LA Unified School District as a set-aside to advance that cause of equity as well. We mean business in that respect, but we also recognize a little humility. We haven't done nearly enough on the issue of equity. We have a lot more work to do, and trust me when I say it is not unique to California, quite the contrary. It's a persistent issue all across this country, and that's why we have been on the road, all of us, focusing on equity with pop-up sites, with mobile sites, and making sure we're setting aside codes to address the needs, particularly in the Latino community and in the African American community, as well as our rural communities in the state. Meeting people where they are, not demanding they come where we are. And by the way, that's the game changer with J&J. The storage side, components, etc., allow us to truly meet people where they are in a way that the other vaccines at least challenge us. And so I'm very encouraged by the moment in time we're in. 2.2% positivity today. 2.2% positivity. Only a few states in America with lower positivity rates than California. 3,500 cases reported today, among the lowest in America, the case rates. We are making progress, but it is, as the Senator said, not mission accomplished. And as we transition over the course of the next 90 to 100 days, get to where the President and others have assured us we will be, that's a framework of abundance as it relates to vaccines, and we begin to more quickly reopen our businesses and our schools, we must be mindful of these variants, mindful not only of the UK, Brazilian variants, the South African variants, but also New York, which we just discovered our first New York variants yesterday here in the state of California and Southern California, and the West Coast variants, 2 of them, of which we have identified over 5,500 of those mutations here in the state. And that's why it's essential and incumbent that we not put down our guard, moreover, remove our masks as it relates to addressing the transmissibility of this disease that is still taking thousands of lives every single day, hundreds of lives lost every single day here in the state of California. It is a deadly disease. It is not taking spring break off. It has not taken a day off since this time last year. We will defeat it. We will turn the proverbial page. We're doing so. Let us please maintain our vigilance as we work through and get to the herd immunity. So I'm grateful, humbled to be here with incredible leaders, and once again mindful that we have a lot of work to do over the course of the next number of weeks to get us where we all are looking forward to go. With that, we're all here to answer any questions.
Governor, good to see you in Long Beach. Let's talk for a moment about Long Beach's success. What do you think is the most important lesson that you've learned from Long Beach? And what do you say to people that live in other areas that say, how are they doing this and why can't they do that where I live?
Well, I'm going to have the mayor come up because the mayor is the leader. But let me just pause and repeat that word, leadership. That's what defines the terms and the distinctions. At the end of the day, you have a leader who not only gets it, but gets things done. And this is what I mean by that. You have a leader that recognizes he's not a victim of fate or someone else's determinations, but his own and his team's own, meaning he has agency. He's going to shape the future. It's not something to experience, something to manifest. He's manifesting that future, and he's bringing that future into the present in real time, and he's willing to take the risk without being reckless to set the terms of a different kind of debate. And I admire that, and that's why I keep coming back down here, and why he keeps getting reelected with these ridiculous margins. And I just want to ask the mayor to come up. He can talk more about that. but he's just someone truly committed to this job, and we're really proud of his incredible work.
Well, thank you, Governor. I'll just briefly, I think, first, this would not be possible without the support of a great state system, and that's just the truth. I think that we've been blessed to have a great relationship with the state and all of the state agencies to make sure that we get what we need as quickly as we need. I think early on, we also took some risks. So we had a very much a get it out the door as fast as possible, and if we run out, that's a good problem to have approach. And I think we view every single vaccine as an opportunity to save somebody's life. And if we view every single vaccine as an opportunity to save someone's life, that's a motivation that gets speed out the door. And the governor has been, he's someone I think everyone can attest to. When there's a problem on the ground, we're texting or calling him or someone on his team, and they're fixing the problem immediately. And that's a level of partnership it's going to take to get everybody vaccinated. So we're thankful, and we're just here to do the job that the state's having us all do, and we've got great partners.
But I mean, is Long Beach getting more vaccine? Or I mean, it's one thing about leadership, but I mean, actually, what can be done in some of these other places?
Well, at the end of the day, the only limitation right now, we've designed a system that currently provides the ability to administer 2.7 million doses every single week. As I said last 7 days, 1.73. Our goal is to design a system that can deliver 4 million vaccines every single week. Again, the only constraint is manufacturer supply. At this point, that's really the issue. As it relates to other jurisdictions all across the state now, there is a mandate in terms of the vaccines to set aside that just went into effect on March 1st. This mayor didn't wait to do that, but at this moment now, in every one of our 58 counties, that mandate is being applied and implemented through third-party agreement and through other efforts on the ground. And so, in that respect, I think you're going to start seeing things move very, very quickly here. And let me just briefly on that one point also make this point. No one's naive. There's going to be some friction. There is some friction. People are a little hesitant, they're a little concerned. I understand that. We want to do this right. We want to do this safely. We want to start with cohorts, TK to 2, grades 3 to 6, build off that. We also want full grades in middle and high school when we move into red tier. And by the way, we now moved 7 counties yesterday into the red tier. We're tracking an additional dozen or so counties, plus or minus, likely next week. So we're starting to move. The expectations are being raised, and the incentives now are there as part of the package that we look forward to getting passed tomorrow. And so, again, this is starting to move very, very quickly and enthusiastic.
Governor, that was literally a preemptive question that I had. Some people out of Orange County are indicating there's some discussions between your staff, local and state administrators, on moving the entire state to a red tier very rapidly. We have, in fact, those discussions going on. Do we have a timetable for when we might move the entire state?
No, we're not moving. The data, the science, the epidemiology, the community spread will make that determination. There is no arbitrary determination to rapidly move folks forward. That's based upon the rate of transmission, positivity rates, and case rates. So I heard that as well, and that's. I don't want to. I want to be sensitive to those that are saying that, because I respect many of those individuals that are communicating that. Simply not the case. I guess it's the kindest way I can say that.
So we're going to get that option as well. Is there any talk of perhaps realignment in terms of the tiers, whereas some counties may go from purple, skip red, and into orange? Is that possible?
Well, that's always a possibility, again, based upon how we created the tier structure. If your case rates drop over a particular period of time, over a 2-week period, stabilize case rates and positivity rates, you can skip to the yellow, not just from orange. But there is a cadence that is more predictable, that is very much part of this process that's been well established now for 26 weeks. This is the 26th week we've had this blueprint for a safer reopening. As it relates to tiers, here's the conversations we're having. I think this is where some of that information is starting to come out, and this I want to just clarify. And this could be, I think, very helpful. That we've been having with county local health officers and other local elected officials around the issue of the tiers in relationship to vaccination rates. And we want to incorporate vaccination rates into the tiering, and that will allow people to move more quickly through the tiers. But we're not resetting the tiers and recalibrating and eliminating the purple tier in that process where that's the misinformation. But we are considering thresholds as it relates to the total number of vaccinations, particularly as we now get close to 10 million vaccines in the next number of days. We're likely to hit that threshold. So that's the conversations. And over the course of the next few days, we hope to socialize those with people.
So, Governor, do you want Orange County in the process?
I don't see that happening in the short run, but there is a movement. Orange County, LA County, most of the state, I think the case rate was down around 9.3% yesterday after today's numbers over a 7-day period. That's incredibly encouraging. It's 20+% a few weeks back. So people are moving across the spectrum, and that's why 7 counties formally moved yesterday. Now 19 counties, or 18 counties are already out of the purple, and again, at least a dozen next week.
Governor,
there's baseball fans all over California that are watching their teams play right now in Arizona, very small capacity, health and safety protocols. The teams have talked to your office about wanting to do that in a month here. Is there a possibility of that, or are you committed to it has to be the yellow?
No, there's not only a possibility, we've had advanced conversations in an effort not to disappoint both of you, but this may be. We will socialize those conversations very, very shortly. We're working on the final details, but we've been working very closely with Major League Baseball, others across the spectrum, working with local health officers, and we'll be updating those guidelines.
So it's safe to say we don't know the final number, but it's reasonable. Some fans.
Look, we're at 2.2% positivity right now. Hospitalizations have dropped 43% in the last 2 weeks, 42% in ICUs in the last 2 weeks. Those case rates, 3,300 today. We are stabilizing. We're moving into the red tier. We have confidence that when you think forward and look forward to April opening day, where we are likely to be if we all do our job. If we all do our job, and we don't let down our guard and spike the ball, wrong sport, but get the point, then I have all the confidence in the world fans will be back safely in a lot of those outdoor venues.
Governor, some of Council or Supervisor Hahn's colleagues on the LA County Board of Supervisors sent you a letter expressing some concerns about Blue Shield, concern about transparency, concerns about equity, especially in the Black and brown community. I wonder if you have a response to that.
We talked to them directly. We didn't even wait to formalize a formal written response. We called the supervisors directly, and we're working through those issues. That process just began this week. It's a 3-phase process. It's a month-long process with 8 counties in the first wave and working with other counties, second and third wave. And it's all about equity. It's all about transparency. It's about having a dashboard for the entire state. It's performance-based. It's incentive-based. It's analytics that we don't otherwise have. It's the ability to get to a platform called My Turn that allows all of us to not only get notified, but to have an end-to-end experience where we're not only collecting data, but people can get reservations for their vaccinations, not only the first dose, but the second dose, and have the ability for all of you, not just all of us, to truly understand where we stand as it relates to the issue of equity. What I've tried to avoid is what we've experienced, and that is 58 customized strategies and solutions. And while that's appealing, in certain cases where certain counties are excelling, it's not in those counties that are falling behind. And my burden is the old adage, I got 4 kids. Parents know this well. You're only as happy as your unhappiest kid. I'm only as happy as the least performing county. And so we've got to raise the bar for everybody. And that's what this whole third-party agreement's about.
Mr. Governor, you criticized the state of Texas's decision to lift their mask mandate and open up essentially 100% of the businesses. If you could speak to that criticism, and also, do you have a message to any Californians who saw that headline and said, I might want to be going to Texas?
Get vaccinated first. I mean, their case rate's substantially higher. Their positivity rate's more than 2+ times ours. Their death rate's consistently been higher than the state of California. This disease is taking thousands of lives every single day. Talk to someone who's lost a loved one. This is not, this is not fiction. It's not made up. It's not a hoax. This is real. We're so close. You don't run the 90-yard dash. My words were relatively constrained. I mean, I just said we're not going to replicate it. With all due respect, I think it's reckless. President of the United States referred to the decision in the end of this or something. I mean, others have been a little bit more critical. So I just hope people are mindful of how close we are to getting to where we all want to go. But let's use data, science, facts, and evidence to guide us, not ideology.
What is your response to efforts to recall?
Focused on vaccines, focusing on bringing down case rates, focused on safely reopening our economy and making tremendous progress, focused on getting this school bill to my desk on Friday, getting our kids safely back into school, focused on how we address the highest reserves in our state's history and balance short-term and long-term fiscal health in our economy that's enjoying one of the biggest surpluses in our state's history. We address the issue of homelessness, issues of affordability and housing. That's my response.
Contract with Blue Shield, where are we in that area, the people process and the effects on new policies in terms of vaccination process?
So pharmacies have direct relationship with the federal government, direct allocations. We also have community health organizations that have the same activities. And so Biden administration is doubling down on those efforts as it relates to prioritizing our teachers and increasing the amount of doses available for those direct allocations to our pharmacies. The reason we like that, and the reason I think most of us like it, it's very familiar. We do about 19 million flu shots a year in the state of California. Many of us go to the pharmacy to get a flu shot. Many of us have those trusted partnerships in their communities. And so we think it's a very encouraging advancement, and we are very encouraged that they're going to significantly increase the number of doses available to move in that direction. That said, our efforts with the TPA, this third-party agreement, were initiated on March 1st. They go in 3 phases over the course of the next 30 days. First phase with 8 counties, disproportionate number of them, not exclusively, disproportionate number in Central Valley, and then it will be going in subsequent phases. In this transition, we are grandfathering in all the existing providers that already exist within the counties, so the counties are comfortable with what's working for them. And then we will start developing contractual relationships with those providers, and then we will build off there. We want the counties driving the equity frame. We want them demanding more and better performance on equity, and we're now going to have a dashboard and a logistics capacity and a data analytics capacity because of the TPA to truly understand where we're falling short and where we're making progress.
Time for one more question.
Governor, I'll ask something. Did somebody didn't get to go? Go ahead.
I got your mayor here, so I'm gonna, I love this. I mean, first of all, this is a question that just puts a smile on my face. Going from a framework of scarcity to abundance. And by the way, that's something we're thinking through. And I say that in this respect. One of the most important things we continue to have to work through is the issue of vaccine hesitancy. I'm concerned that people are now looking at different vaccines differently. My point of view is the best vaccine is the one that's available. I take the J&J vaccine tomorrow. It's not my turn yet. A lot of advantages to J&J, notably a single dose. We worry about hesitancy becoming a bigger issue, particularly as more and more vaccines become available and more people are vaccinated, but we're not necessarily quite there at herd immunity. We still have issues in black and brown communities, which are completely legitimate and understandable based upon the past, and we'll kind of overcome them in the present. We have 337 community-based organizations that the state has contracted with directly to do in-language, trusted messenger work on the ground to address those barriers in real time. We still have more work to do in that space. But as it relates to the prioritizations, we currently have prioritized essential workers and those defined that essential worker category as food workers, agricultural workers, obviously healthcare workers, from EMT paramedics to those frontline heroes, our nurses and doctors, those 65 and over, and now we've included in that category our educators. Once we see that we have now substantially addressed those cohorts, then we'll start to loosen up the tiers and make them available sequentially for everybody else. So that presents itself in real time as we get more and more vaccines. If he's sitting on even 100 vaccines and he says, we're good, I can assure you, Ray will send his team to pick those up and send them to Compton or send them to another part of the region. And that would be the more direct response to your question of what would happen in the interim if there were any excess supply. And you may not be happy about that. There's no excess, but you would understand that.
All right. Thank you.
I appreciate all of you giving us this opportunity and privilege and just this incredible group of leaders that are here today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Governor.
There we have it. Gavin Newsom just finished up his press conference. Another one.
I want to welcome
If we can, that lots of exclusive stuff going on that. Again, he was asked about school closing and the accusations from the president of UTLA, Cicely Meyer Cruz, that it was racist behind SB 86 and Gavin Newsom's plan to non-reopen the schools, because he doesn't have a plan to reopen schools. He's just saying if you do open them, you will get more money. But that's apparently racist in overtones, to quote United Teachers of Los Angeles' Cicely Meyer Cruz on that. Of course, he tapped dance and he called again. He called the opening of Texas 100% open, no mask mandates, reckless. When if you compare Florida, and we will bring it out on IE Newswire at 5 o'clock, starting at 5 o'clock. Catch us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and KMET on 1490 AM starting at 5:30. National Public Radio, not known to be part of the vast right-wing conspiracy, put out a deal that said the same thing, comparing Florida to California. We have essentially no difference. In fact, Florida's done slightly better deaths, COVID cases, everything else, without lockdowns, without mask mandates, for the vast majority of that, 180 degrees almost in perpetuity to California, yet states like Texas and Mississippi are now being chided as reckless by Gavin Newsom. There was not ever a reason to this point to recall Gavin Newsom. This should be it. He absolutely cannot answer any of the questions straight. He was asked that question about the UTLA president. He should have said she's full of blank. There is no, and we'll have Bill Malushin of Fox 11's got a report on that. Actually, the parents that Cicely Meyer Tyson says that it was this is being pushed by parents, wealthy white parents. The school opening. We'll see what actually in the communities the as she calls them, black and brown. You notice how they always want to put you in categories. You're not a person. You're not part of the human race. You got to be put in some sort of category, classification, anything else. If people are truly equal, then why are those that always claiming equality or shouting racists always wanting to put you in a category of some kind? It's amazing. What goes on this? Each and every day. You're going to see a report. We're going to cover this and much more on IE Newswire when it comes up live at 5. You won't want to miss this. We'll have Eddie George of him at iNews, and we'll get his thoughts on this. And on top of that, here's one. I'm going to go to number 4. This has just been breaking. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol had a press release. Here it is. You're seeing the hole in the fence. That appears to be, or according to the reports, that's a hole in the fence at the Ford Expedition, hole in the fence at the border, at the U.S.-Mexico border, that the expedition that was carrying 25 people in it came through. And now reports are coming out in the media that all 25 were illegally or illegal aliens crossing into the border. Said after this, and this is a quote in the U.S. Border Patrol website, all individuals in the vehicle at the time are suspected to have entered the U.S. illegally. This is just breaking here within the last hour. We'll have more on the report. We'll post it on IE Newswire, and then we'll talk about it as we do live at 5 on IE Newswire, starting on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube on video, and then we join into KMET 1490 AM. So until our next broadcast, see ya!